Stop scrolling. Pause for a moment because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you were taught about success, respect, and power. From childhood, you were trained to behave. Stay quiet. Follow rules. Be polite. Don't stand out. Trust the system. Play fair. Wait your turn. Sound familiar? It should, because this conditioning didn't happen by accident. You weren't educated to become powerful. You were trained to become manageable. They told you the world rewards kindness, patience, and obedience. But look around. The people who rise to the top aren't always the nicest. They're the sharpest. They see hidden motives. They understand influence. They recognize the real game behind the polite smiles and fake rules. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Respect isn't given to those who behave. It's earned by those who understand control, perception, and strategy. Centuries ago, thinkers like Machiavelli exposed how power really works. While society preached virtue, leaders played chess behind closed doors. While people were taught to be honest and humble, rulers mastered timing, secrecy, and psychological advantage. And you've been following instructions that kept you small, apologizing when you shouldn't, staying silent when you should speak, shrinking so others feel big, waiting for permission to take space. That ends now. This is not about becoming cruel. This is about becoming aware, breaking invisible chains, rewriting the rules that quietly shaped your behavior. If you've ever felt underestimated, overlooked, or controlled, this series is for you. Type this in your mind: I choose awareness. Because once you see the game, you can never unsee it. And in the next part, we'll expose the first rule society used to keep you invisible, and how to flip it in your favor. One of the earliest traps placed on you was subtle but powerful. Fit in. Don't stand out. Be normal. From school to social circles, you were encouraged to blend in. Match expectations. Avoid being weird. Follow trends. Stay agreeable. But here's the reality nobody tells you. Blending in is the fastest way to become forgettable. Nobody remembers the person who copies the crowd. Nobody respects the man who erases his individuality to stay accepted. Influence comes from distinction. History doesn't celebrate followers. It remembers disruptors. The people who left a mark didn't look, think, or act like everyone else. They questioned norms. They challenged comfort. They leaned into their uniqueness instead of hiding it. When you suppress your personality to avoid judgment, you silently surrender power. You mute your ideas. You shrink your presence. You trade authenticity for approval. And approval is a weak currency. The people who gain respect are the ones who own their voice, calmly, confidently, without needing validation. Not loud, not arrogant, just unapologetically real. Your quirks aren't flaws. Your different perspective isn't a mistake. Your unusual interests, humor, style, and opinions, those are your signature. The moment you stop trying to impress everyone is the moment you start becoming unforgettable. You don't need to rebel loudly. You simply need to stop shrinking quietly. Wear what you like. Speak what you believe. Build what excites you. Move with certainty. Because conformity makes you replaceable. Identity makes you magnetic. Let others follow trends. Your job is to set tone. Say this internally: I refuse to fade into the crowd. And in the next part, we'll break down another lie you were taught. The myth that full honesty always equals power. You were taught that honesty is always the highest virtue. Tell the truth no matter what, they said. It sounds noble, but in reality, revealing everything makes you predictable, exposed, and vulnerable. Truth isn't weakness, but uncontrolled truth is. When you share every thought, every fear, every plan, you give people leverage over you. They learn your triggers. They learn your intentions. They learn how to anticipate your moves before you even act. Power isn't about lying. It's about choosing what to reveal and what to protect. Not everyone deserves access to your mind, your goals, or your struggles. Oversharing doesn't build respect. It builds vulnerability, and vulnerability in the wrong environment becomes a weakness. Strategic people understand this. Mystery creates gravity. Silence creates authority. Restraint creates control. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. When you reveal less, people wonder more. And when people wonder, they respect. You don't need to explain everything. You don't need to justify every decision. You don't need to expose your plans before they're ready. Before responding, pause. Ask yourself, does saying this benefit me? Does it strengthen my position? Does it protect my goals? Real strength is knowing what to say and what to withhold. The goal isn't deception. The goal is control. Repeat this in your mind. My silence protects my power. And in the next part, we'll dismantle another dangerous belief, the idea that extreme humility earns respect. You were told that being humble makes you respectable. Stay modest. Don't brag. Keep your head down. But taken too far, humility doesn't earn respect. It erases presence. There's a difference between being grounded and making yourself small. Real humility means staying balanced while knowing your worth. False humility means hiding your strengths so others feel comfortable. When you constantly downplay your abilities, people assume you have none. When you refuse to acknowledge your progress, others define your value for you. When you shrink yourself to avoid looking confident, you invite disrespect. Many people secretly prefer you to stay small because your confidence reminds them of their insecurity. Your success exposes their stagnation. So they push a dangerous narrative. Don't shine too brightly. But hiding your light doesn't make you virtuous. It makes you invisible. Powerful individuals don't boast. But they also don't apologize for being capable. They speak clearly. They stand tall. They allow their work, posture, and mindset to reflect confidence. You don't need arrogance. You need ownership. Own your growth. Own your skills. Own your achievements. Not loudly. Not desperately. Just calmly with certainty. When you stop pretending you're less than you are, the world treats you differently. People listen more. They hesitate before disrespecting you. They recognize your authority. Humility should protect your character, not bury your potential. Say this internally. I do not hide my worth. And in the next part, we'll expose another trap society praises. The lie that being nice to everyone always makes you respected. You were taught to always be nice, always be agreeable, always be pleasant. But constant niceness doesn't build respect. It builds expectation, entitlement, and exploitation. When you say yes to everything, you train people to ignore your boundaries. When you prioritize everyone else's comfort over your own standards, you signal insecurity. And insecurity quietly kills authority. Being kind is not weakness, but being kind without limits is. People often claim they appreciate nice individuals, yet they frequently take advantage of them. Why? Because endless politeness suggests you fear conflict, rejection, or disapproval. And nothing reduces respect faster than needing approval. Strong individuals understand this. Kindness should be intentional, not automatic. A tool, not a personality. A choice, not a reflex. You don't need to become rude. You need to become selective. Respect grows when people know you won't tolerate being mistreated. When your kindness has conditions. When your time, energy, and effort are not freely available to anyone who demands them. The moment you stop trying to please everyone, people begin to take you more seriously. You can still be generous, still be fair, still be compassionate, but never at the cost of your dignity. Learn to say no. Learn to walk away. Learn to protect your mental space. Because being endlessly agreeable doesn't make you valuable. It makes you replaceable. Say this in your mind. My boundaries define my value. And in the next part, we'll challenge another belief that keeps people stuck. The idea that waiting patiently guarantees success. You were told that patience is always rewarded. Wait your turn. Your time will come. But endless waiting doesn't build success, it builds stagnation. Patience can be powerful. But when patience turns into passivity, it becomes a cage. Opportunities rarely arrive for those who sit quietly hoping to be noticed. The world doesn't reward hesitation, it rewards movement. Most people delay their dreams, telling themselves they're not ready yet. They wait for perfect timing, perfect confidence, perfect conditions. And while they wait, years disappear. The individuals who rise are not always the most prepared. They're the most decisive. They move before certainty arrives. They act before fear disappears. They create doors instead of waiting for them to open. Momentum creates opportunity.
Initiative build respect.
Action signals confidence. Waiting keeps you predictable. Action makes you dangerous in a good way. You will never feel fully ready. You will never have perfect timing. And you will never build power by standing still. Progress belongs to those who step forward despite doubt. Ask yourself honestly, how many goals have you postponed? How many chances have you ignored because you were waiting to feel ready? Success doesn't show up, it's pursued. Say this internally. I move before fear decides. And in the next part, we'll expose another silent trap, the belief that loyalty should always be unconditional. You were taught that loyalty means staying no matter what, standing by people even when they disrespect you, sacrificing your dignity to prove commitment. But blind loyalty doesn't build honor, it destroys self-respect. When people know you'll stay regardless of how they treat you, they stop valuing you. They stop fearing losing you. And once there's no consequence, respect disappears. Most people don't truly want loyalty, they want obedience. They want access to your effort without earning it. They want control disguised as connection. Real loyalty begins with loyalty to yourself. Healthy loyalty is earned. It has standards. It has limits. It requires mutual respect. You don't owe endless devotion to people who drain you, manipulate you, or disrespect your boundaries. Staying loyal to the wrong individuals keeps you trapped in environments that stunt your growth. People respect those who can walk away. They behave better when they know access to you is not guaranteed. Loyalty should never cost your dignity. It should never force you to tolerate mistreatment. And it should never require you to betray your own values. Strength comes from choosing who deserves your trust, not giving it to everyone. Say this internally, my loyalty must be earned. And in the next part, we'll challenge another comforting lie. The belief that life's main purpose is simply to feel happy. You were taught that the goal of life is happiness. Relax, enjoy, feel good. It sounds comforting. But chasing constant happiness quietly weakens ambition, discipline, and power. Happiness is temporary. Purpose is permanent. People obsessed with feeling good avoid struggle. They run from pressure. They choose comfort over growth, pleasure over progress, ease over mastery. And while they chase momentary joy, they slowly fall behind. Strong individuals don't build their lives around comfort. They build around mission, discipline, and long-term impact. Growth is uncomfortable. Improvement is painful. Progress requires sacrifice. And a man who avoids discomfort never becomes resilient, respected, or unshakable. Happiness can come later, but purpose must come first. The greatest figures in history didn't live for comfort. They lived for challenge. Their lives were filled with obstacles, responsibility, sacrifice, and relentless work. And through that struggle, they earned a deeper satisfaction than pleasure ever provides. If your identity depends on feeling good, every setback will break you. But if your identity is built on purpose, every setback will strengthen you. You won't feel motivated every day. You won't feel happy every season. And you're not supposed to. You're supposed to build discipline, strength, character, legacy. Pleasure fades. Comfort weakens. Purpose hardens. Say this internally. Purpose matters more than comfort. And in the next part, we'll dismantle another soft lie, the idea that forgiving everyone without consequence makes you wise. You were taught to forgive and forget. Let it go. Be the bigger person. Forgiveness can be healthy, but forgiveness without memory invites repeated harm. Instant forgiveness without boundaries doesn't make you enlightened. It makes you vulnerable. Your past experiences aren't burdens. They're warnings. Every betrayal, disappointment, or disrespect carries information. And ignoring that information puts you at risk of repeating the same mistake. Memory isn't bitterness. Memory is strategy. You don't need revenge. You don't need conflict. You don't need drama. What you need is adjustment. When someone shows you how they treat your trust, believe the evidence. When someone crosses your boundaries, reduce their access, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't argue. It doesn't seek revenge. It simply remembers and changes behavior. You can forgive someone emotionally while still protecting yourself practically. Forgiveness clears your mind. Boundaries protect your future. If you erase every lesson, you erase your authority. If you allow endless second chances without consequence, you train people to repeat the same behavior. Say this internally: I forgive, but I do not forget lessons. And in the next part, we'll challenge another social rule: the belief that putting everyone else before yourself makes you noble. You were taught that selflessness is virtue. Always put others first. Sacrifice for everyone. It sounds moral, but constant self-sacrifice quietly destroys respect. When you always put yourself last, people assume your time, energy, and presence have no value. They stop appreciating you. They start expecting you. Endless giving without limits doesn't make you noble. It makes you predictable and expendable. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot maintain influence if you constantly drain yourself to satisfy others. Self-respect is not selfishness. It's survival. Power comes from knowing your priorities, protecting your energy, and refusing to be endlessly available. People respect those who value their own time because it signals worth. You can still be generous, still be helpful, still be kind, but never at the expense of your standards, health, or future. When people realize your effort has limits, they treat it with more respect. When they know your attention isn't guaranteed, they value it more. You don't need to abandon generosity, you need to control it. Say this internally: I respect my own needs. And in the next part, we'll confront another comforting myth: the idea that playing it safe guarantees stability. Now you see the pattern. The rules you were taught: be nice, be patient, be humble, play safe, weren't designed to make you powerful. They were designed to make you predictable. Predictable people are easier to manage, easier to control, easier to replace. But power belongs to those who understand timing, perception, and strategy. The rules themselves aren't evil. They're tools. But when used blindly, they weaken you. When used intentionally, they empower you. Honesty can be strength when controlled. Kindness can be power when selective. Patience can be useful when paired with action. Loyalty can be valuable when earned. The difference isn't the rule, it's how you apply it. You don't need to reject society. You need to stop letting it program you. Real strength comes from awareness, from knowing when to comply and when to resist, when to speak and when to stay silent, when to wait and when to strike. Say this internally: I use rules, rules don't use me. And in the next part, we'll lock in your transformation and challenge you to step fully into this new mindset. At this point, you have two options. You can return to old habits, seeking approval, avoiding discomfort, shrinking for comfort, or you can step into a sharper, more controlled version of yourself. Power doesn't come from motivation. It comes from discipline. Respect doesn't come from kindness alone. It comes from presence. Influence doesn't come from talking. It comes from timing. The difference between average men and respected men is simple: awareness plus action. You now understand how invisible rules shape behavior, how approval weakens authority, how comfort weakens ambition, how strategy strengthens presence. But knowledge means nothing without execution. Start speaking with intention. Start acting with precision. Start moving with confidence. Start protecting your standards. Say this internally: I act on what I know. And in the next part, we'll sharpen this mindset even further and prepare you to fully detach from mental conditioning. The final step is detachment. Detachment from approval. Detachment from fear. Detachment from the need to please. Detachment from emotional manipulation. When you stop needing validation, you become unshakable. When you stop fearing judgment, you become untouchable. When you stop chasing acceptance, you become respected. People sense emotional independence, and they respond to it with admiration or caution. You don't need to prove yourself. You need to stabilize yourself. Calm creates authority. Silence creates mystery. Consistency creates power. The more emotionally controlled you become, the less control others have over you. Say this internally. I control my reactions. And in the final part, we'll seal everything and lock in your transformation. You've now seen what most people never question, the invisible system shaping behavior, obedience, and identity. You were taught rules to make you manageable. But now, you understand how to turn those rules into leverage. Power isn't loud. It isn't aggressive. It isn't emotional. Power is calm. Power is calculated. Power is aware. You don't need to dominate others. You need to master yourself. From this moment forward, stop shrinking. Stop waiting. Stop seeking permission. Start acting with intention. Start protecting your standards. Start moving like someone who knows their worth. You are no longer invisible. You are no longer predictable. You are no longer controlled by outdated conditioning. Say this internally. I control my destiny. And remember, the moment you master perception, discipline, and strategy, the world starts reacting to you differently.